Hey, hey! What's up, Bears Nation? Buckle up, because what you're about to hear is going to drop your jaw straight to the floor. We've got 3 absolute bombshells that could completely change the direction of this franchise. And if you don't stick around till the end, you're gonna regret it for the rest of your life. First off, let's talk about what everyone in Chicago is whispering about. Maxx Crosby might be rocking navy and orange sooner than you think. Yeah, you heard that right. The most lethal pass rusher in the NFL is on Ryan Poles' radar. And the question isn't if we can get him, it's how much we're willing to give up. DJ Moore, a first-rounder? Darnell Wright? Man, the cards are on the table. And the choices made in the next few weeks are going to decide if we're contenders or just pretenders. But hold up, that's not all. Nahshon Wright, the guy nobody wanted a year ago, now has half the league pulling out their checkbooks after snagging 5 picks. But here's the part nobody's talking about. Is he a rising star or just a one-hit wonder? Because some well-connected folks are warning that dropping $15 million on this dude could be the biggest mistake of the offseason. Is Ryan Poles going to let him walk or fall into the trap? And just when you thought we were done, here comes the cherry on top. Bradley Chubb just got cut by Miami and is on the market right now. A 2-time Pro Bowl pass rusher who could fix our defensive issues overnight. But man, he's 30, coming off a torn ACL, and the Dolphins let him go for a reason. Is he the missing piece or just another ticking time bomb? If you're not subscribed right now and smashing that like button, you're missing out on the hottest info coming out of Harless Hall all year. Hit that red button, because this is just getting started. First story, Maxx Crosby. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. The question everyone in Chicago is asking is simple. What the hell is it going to take to bring Maxx Crosby to this city? Because after years of watching this franchise try to build a D-line around Montez Sweat and fall flat, we finally have a real shot at landing one of the most dominant pass rushers in the entire NFL. And let me tell you this, if Ryan Poles doesn't pull the trigger, if he lets this chance slip away, we're going to be talking about it for the next 10 years as one of the most gutless decisions in team history. Let me lay it all out. Since we brought in Sweat in 2023 and gave him that 4-year, $98 million extension, we've been trying to get him help. We signed Andrew Billings, brought in Grady Jarrett on a 3-year, $43.5 million deal, and last year we went all in on Dayo Odeyingbo with a 3-year, $48 million contract. And what happened? Odeyingbo tore his Achilles in week 9, and that whole investment went down the drain. So I ask you, how many more times are we going to try the same thing, expecting different results? That's literally the definition of insanity. Now we've got Maxx Crosby on the table, a guy who's racked up nearly 70 sacks in 7 seasons, over 100 tackles for loss, more than 150 QB hits, and forced 23 fumbles. 23! This dude is a wrecking machine. And according to Bill Zimmerman from Windy City Gridiron, the Bears are one of the teams in the mix. Here's the kicker, and listen close, because this is huge. Folks connected to the Raiders are saying they're not asking for 2 first-rounders for Crosby because of his age. That's massive. If someone offers 2 firsts, Vegas will take that deal in a heartbeat. But for us, for Chicago, there's a window here. A source told Zimmerman it might cost Darnell Wright and a first-rounder. I think that's insane. The Bears would never do that, and they shouldn't. Wright just had the best season of his career at right tackle. Why the hell would we move him? But here's the part that's been keeping me up at night. DJ Moore. According to these sources, DJ Moore doesn't have much standalone trade value. But if we use him as part of a package to land Crosby, suddenly his value becomes a lot more interesting. And you know why? Because the Raiders are probably drafting Fernando Mendoza, and they need a reliable receiver for that kid. The deal being floated is this: the Bears' 2026 first-round pick, a day 2 pick in 2027, and DJ Moore, especially if Chicago eats some of the money and brings his salary down to around $18 million. A source close to the Raiders said that is something they'd seriously consider. And I'm telling you right now, if that's the offer that gets Maxx Crosby in a Bears uniform, Ryan Poles needs to make that call right now. You know what Crosby would do to this defense? Let me show you his numbers from last season. 10 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, 26 QB hits, 3 forced fumbles in just 15 games. Picture that next to Montez Sweat. Picture the quarterbacks in Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit having to deal with that twice a year. And here's what nobody's talking about: Crosby's versatility. This guy isn't just a speed rusher off the edge. He can line up anywhere on the D-line. He can drop into coverage. He can set the edge against the run. He's a complete player who fits perfectly into what Matt Eberflus wants to do on defense. I bet Eberflus wakes up in the middle of the night dreaming about having Crosby on his defense. Because in that Tampa 2 scheme he runs, you need pass rushers who can win one-on-ones consistently. And Crosby is exactly that. The Packers are scrambling to rebuild their O-line after losing starters. The Vikings are still searching for decent protection for their QB. And Detroit, even though they won the Super Bowl, knows their O-line isn't bulletproof. While they're patching holes, we'd be adding a piece that makes them shake. But let me tell you what this move really means for Chicago. It's not just about getting an elite pass rusher. It's about sending a message to the entire NFC North that Chicago ain't playing. It's about telling Caleb Williams that this organization is committed to winning now, not in 3 years, not in 5, now. Remember when we had Khalil Mack? Remember how that defense completely flipped? Crosby can have that same impact, but with one major difference. This time, we've got a real quarterback in Caleb Williams. This time, we've got real weapons on offense. This time, we've got a legitimate window to compete. And here's the part that drives me nuts. DJ Moore has the highest cap hit on the team in 2026 at $28.5 million. $28.5 million. And he just had the worst statistical season of his career. At best, he's our WR2 behind Rome Odunze and Luther Burden III. So I ask you, doesn't it make more sense to use that money on a higher impact position? Doesn't it make more sense to invest in the defense, which has always been this team's identity? Let's be real about who we are as a franchise. The Bears aren't known for explosive offenses. We're known for dominant defenses. From the monsters of the Midway to the 85 defense, from Brian Urlacher to Khalil Mack, our identity has always been defense. And now we've got a chance to get back to that. We've got a chance to build a defense that can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the league. A defense that can win games on its own. A defense that gives opposing quarterbacks nightmares. Picture this: Maxx Crosby and Montez Sweat coming off the edges. Grady Jarrett collapsing the pocket up the middle. Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards cleaning up the second level. Jalen Johnson locking down one side. Kyler Gordon developing on the other. That's a defense that can take a team to the Super Bowl. That's a defense that can dominate in January. That's a defense worthy of Chicago. But here's the counterpoint, and I gotta be honest with you. What about the offense? If we move DJ Moore, who's our WR2? Are we trusting Rome Odunze and Luther Burden III to carry the load? I say yes, absolutely yes. Odunze flashed big-time potential in his rookie year. Burden's got star potential. And don't forget about Keenan Allen. He can still produce when healthy. Plus, we've got Caleb Williams, a quarterback who can elevate the guys around him. A quarterback who can make plays with his legs when protection breaks down. A quarterback with MVP-level talent. And you know what helps a young quarterback succeed? A dominant defense that gives him extra possessions. A defense that creates turnovers and short fields. A defense that keeps games close and takes the pressure off. Look at what the Niners did when they built that dominant defense around Nick Bosa. Look at what the Rams did with Aaron Donald. Look at what the Cowboys are doing with Micah Parsons. Teams that win championships in today's NFL have one thing in common: an elite pass rusher who can wreck the opponent's game plan. And Maxx Crosby is exactly that. Now let's talk salary cap. According to ESPN, Crosby has $60.6 million guaranteed between 2026 and 2027, with an option for $53.9 million more between 2028 and 2029. That's a lot of money. But if we move DJ Moore, who's basically got $49 million guaranteed over the next 2 years, suddenly the numbers start to make sense. It's not a one-for-one swap, but it gives us the flexibility to make it work. And here's what gets me excited. Ryan Poles has shown he knows how to manage the cap. Look at how he restructured deals last year. Look at how he made room to sign Jarrett. Look at how he handled the extensions for Jalen Johnson and Montez Sweat. I believe Poles can make this deal work. I believe he's got a plan. And I believe that plan includes bringing Maxx Crosby to Chicago. But let me be clear, this isn't a no-risk move. Crosby's going to be 30. He's had some minor injuries, and we're betting he can stay elite for at least 3 or 4 more years. But let me ask you this. When was the last time the Bears took a real risk? When was the last time this organization made a bold move that left us all speechless? The Khalil Mack trade in 2018. That was 8 years ago. And since then, we've played it safe. We've made conservative decisions. We've been the team that always comes up short. This is our chance to flip that script. This is our chance to show the league that Chicago is ready to compete with the best. This is our chance to become the monsters of the Midway again. And if that means saying goodbye to DJ Moore, if that means giving up a first-round pick, then I say, do it! Because championship windows in the NFL are short, and ours is open right now. Caleb Williams is on his rookie deal through 2028. Rome Odunze and Luther Burden are cheap. Jalen Johnson is in his prime. Montez Sweat is entering his best years. This is our window. And Maxx Crosby might be the piece that seals it. The piece that takes us from pretenders to contenders. The piece that finally brings us another title after 40 years of waiting. So I ask you, are you ready for that kind of bold move? Are you ready to see Ryan Poles make history in Chicago? Second story, Nahshon Wright. If that blew your mind, wait till you hear this, because now we got to talk about one of the biggest surprises of the 2025 season, Nahshon Wright. And let me say this right off the bat, if any team throws $15 million a year at this guy, they're making one of the biggest mistakes of the entire offseason. Let me break it down for you, and trust me, this is critical to understanding how Ryan Poles is going to handle free agency. Wright came to Chicago last year on a 1-year, $1.1 million deal. Nobody, and I mean nobody, expected this dude to even make the 53-man roster. He was a project, a flyer, a low-risk gamble Poles took because we had room to experiment. And what happened? The guy went out and racked up 80 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions, and 11 passes defended. Numbers that'll get any team excited and ready to open the checkbook. But here's the problem. And this is where you separate the smart GMs from the desperate ones. Gary Davenport from Bleacher Report just warned the entire league that Wright is a bust waiting to happen in 2026. And you know what? I think he's right. And here's exactly why. Look, I respect what Wright did last year. It was inspiring to see a guy nobody wanted turn into one of our top defenders. The Cinderella story is great, but football is a business. It's about sustainable production and long-term value. Wright was targeted 98 times in 2025. 98! Think about that! Quarterbacks weren't afraid of him. They went after him constantly. And yeah, he got 5 picks, but he also gave up half a dozen touchdowns in coverage. Let me ask you, are those the numbers of a $15 million a year corner? Is that what you want in your CB1? Because I'm telling you right now, no! Davenport nailed it when he said, is it possible Wright is a late bloomer and a rising star? Sure, but it's way more likely his inflated interception numbers were a 1-year fluke. And here's the evidence. Wright started just 3 games in his first 4 seasons before blowing up with the Bears in 2025. That's not a pattern of steady development. That's a guy who had a career year and now wants to cash in. Let me give you some historical context, because this matters. Remember what happened with the Vikings and Kirk Cousins? They paid based on 1 solid season and got stuck in a contract that held them back for years. Remember the Jaguars with Christian Kirk? Massive overpay. And now they're trying to dig out of that hole. The NFL is full of teams that paid guys based on short-term production instead of long-term value. And it almost always ends badly. Now let's talk about what really happened with Wright last year. Yeah, he had 5 picks, but let's break those down. How many were because he made an elite play in coverage? And how many were just bad throws where he was in the right place at the right time? I'm telling you, most of them were the second kind, and that's not sustainable. Interceptions are the most volatile stat in football. A corner can have 8 one year and 2 the next, and not even play worse. That's just how the position works. What is sustainable is consistent coverage, the ability to lock down receivers, solid press technique, recovery speed when you get beat. And in all those areas, Wright is average at best. Look at the advanced stats. His passer rating allowed was 95.3. His completion percentage allowed was 61%. His yards per target allowed was 8.2. Those are CB2 numbers, not elite CB1 numbers. And here's what worries me. The Bears are already about $5 million over the cap. We've got tough decisions to make on Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, and CJ Gardner-Johnson, all free agents. We can't afford to make a mistake here. So I ask you, would you rather pay Nahshon Wright $15 million or use that money to keep Jaquan Brisker, a guy who just had one of the best playoff runs we've seen from a Bears safety in years? The answer should be obvious. Brisker is young, getting better every year, and showed in the playoffs that he can be a cornerstone of this defense for the next decade. Wright had one good season. One. And let me talk about what I saw in the playoffs, because that's where you really see what a player's made of. Wright got targeted over and over again in our playoff run. Opposing offensive coordinators circled him as the weak link in our secondary and went after him. And what happened? He gave up big plays. He struggled in man coverage. He missed key tackles. Those are the moments that define a player, and Wright didn't pass the test. Now, I'm not saying Wright's a bad player. I'm not saying he doesn't belong in the NFL. What I'm saying is he's not worth $15 million a year, period. If Wright's willing to sign a 2 or 3 year deal for $8 to $10 million a year with performance incentives, that's different. That's a deal that makes sense for both sides. He gets his raise, we keep a solid CB2, and everyone wins. But if some desperate team comes in and throws $15 million at him, I'm telling you, let him walk. Let him be someone else's problem. Because building a winning roster isn't about paying for what a guy did last year. It's about paying for what he's going to do over the next 3, 4, 5 years. And I don't see any evidence Wright can keep up that level of production. The Packers made that mistake with Kevin King after his solid 2019 season, paid him, and he never got back to that level. The Lions did it with Darius Slay before realizing they overpaid and had to trade him. We can't be the next team to fall into that trap. And here's what gives me confidence. Ryan Poles has shown he won't overpay for 1 year production. Look at how he handled Roquan Smith. Smith wanted to be the highest paid linebacker in the league after an all-pro season. Poles said no and traded him for draft value. Was it painful? Absolutely. Was it the right call? Time has proven it was. Because now we've got Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards for less combined money than Smith is making. And our defense hasn't missed a beat. Look at how he let Robert Quinn go when his value didn't match his production. Look at how he didn't get into a bidding war for Allen Robinson. Poles understands value. Poles understands the cap. And Poles doesn't make emotional mistakes. This is another test for Poles. Is he going to make the tough but smart call? Or get caught up in flashy numbers and make a mistake that haunts us for years? I believe he'll make the right call. I believe he'll let Wright test the open market. And if someone wants to overpay, so be it. Because we've got options. The 2026 draft is loaded with talented corners. Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Nate Wiggins. These guys could all be there in the early rounds. We could get a young corner with more upside than Wright for a fraction of the cost. Or we could hit free agency and find proven vets on reasonable deals. There are options out there with more experience, better technique, and more consistent production than Wright. The key is not to panic. The key is not to overpay out of fear. The key is to trust the process and trust Ryan Poles' plan. And let me be clear about one more thing. If Wright stays, great. If he signs a reasonable deal and wants to keep being part of this defense, I'll be pumped to have him. But it's got to be at the right price, because every dollar we spend on Wright is a dollar we can't spend elsewhere. It's a dollar we can't use to keep Brisker. It's a dollar we can't use to upgrade the O-line. It's a dollar we can't use to add depth at key spots. The salary cap is a zero-sum game. Every decision has consequences. And paying $15 million to a corner who had one good year is a consequence we can't afford. So I ask you, Do you trust Ryan Poles to make the right call here? Do you trust that he understands value and won't overpay? Third story, Bradley Chubb. And just when you thought we were done, here comes the third bomb of the day. Bradley Chubb has just been released by the Dolphins, and he's available right now before free agency officially kicks off on March 11th. According to Tom Pelissero from NFL Network, Miami cut Chubb in a cap-related move to help with their rebuild. And I'm telling you right now, this is exactly the kind of opportunity the Bears need to take a serious look at. But it's also the kind of move that could blow up in our face if we're not careful. And here's why this decision is so tricky. Let me give you the facts first. Bradley Chubb is a two-time Pro Bowl pass rusher who, when healthy, is one of the best in the game. In his 2 full seasons with Miami, he racked up 19.5 sacks, 8 forced fumbles, and 120 total tackles. Last year, coming off a torn ACL in 2024 that kept him out the entire season, he still managed 8.5 sacks and 48 pressures in 2025. Those are solid numbers for a guy who basically lost a full year to rehab. But here's the issue, and this is what's been keeping me up at night. Chubb turns 30 before the 2026 season kicks off. He's just 2 years removed from that ACL tear, and his pass rush win rate dropped below 8% last year. Let me ask you, are those the kind of numbers that make you feel good about giving out a long-term deal, especially for a team that's already $5 million over the cap? Because here's the hard truth nobody in Chicago wants to admit. The Bears desperately need to improve their pass rush. We finished tied for dead last in pass rush win rate at just 29%. 29. That's unacceptable for a team trying to compete for a title, especially for a franchise with our defensive legacy. When I think about the great Bears defenses, Urlacher, Peppers, Hicks, dominating the trenches, it hurts to see where we are now. This city deserves better. This city deserves a defense that makes opposing quarterbacks sweat. But we've also got major financial constraints we can't ignore. 3 of our top 7 cap hits for 2026 belong to defensive linemen. Montez Sweat with his $98 million deal. Dayo Odeyingbo with $48 million before tearing his Achilles. And Grady Jarrett with $43.5 million. And we still need to clear about $5.3 million just to get back in the black. So where does Bradley Chubb fit into this financial puzzle? I think if the price is right, if we can get him for $10 to $15 million a year with performance and availability incentives, then it's worth seriously considering. But we can't make the mistake of overpaying for a guy on the wrong side of 30 with a significant injury history. Look at what happened with the Dolphins, and this is crucial to understanding Chubb's market. They signed him to a 5-year, $110 million deal in 2022. $110 million. They had to restructure that contract multiple times just to stay afloat, and now they're cutting him 2 years early. That should tell us everything we need to know about Chubb's real market value right now. Miami, a team that needs pass rushers, that needs defensive help, is willing to eat dead money just to get him off the books. But here's what's got me thinking, what's got me really considering this. Chubb is available right now. We don't have to wait until March 11th. We don't have to get into a bidding war with desperate teams. We don't have to watch his price get inflated in the open market. We can make this move immediately if we want to. We can sit down with his agent, work out a reasonable deal, and have him signed before the madness begins. And Ryan Poles has a track record of doing exactly this kind of move. Remember when he signed Kevin Byard after the Titans cut him in 2024? Remember when he did the same with Grady Jarrett in 2025? Poles understands the value of grabbing proven vets before the market goes wild. But let me say this, and listen close, because this is key. We have to be smart about where we put our limited money. Every dollar counts when you're over the cap. Do we want a 30-year-old edge rusher with injury history? Or do we want to invest in the interior with someone like John Franklin Myers, who can collapse the pocket from the inside? Do we want another edge when we already have Sweat on a massive deal? Or do we need more help at defensive tackle where we're getting dominated? Because here's the truth nobody in the building wants to say out loud. Our pass rush problem isn't just about the edges. It's not just about getting guys who can come off the outside. It's about the interior line not generating pressure up the middle. It's about not having a dominant 3-tech who can collapse the pocket and force QBs into our edge rushers. When I watch last year's games, when I see Aaron Rodgers with all day to throw, when I see Jordan Love torch us in the second matchup, it's not because our edges weren't getting home. It's because the pocket was clean up the middle. Quarterbacks could step up and have all the space in the world. That's an interior line problem, not an edge problem. So I ask you, does Bradley Chubb fix that core issue? Or are we just slapping another Band-Aid on a wound that needs surgery? And then there's the 2026 draft class, which is stacked with pass rushers. Abdul Carter from Penn State, Michael Williams from Georgia, Nick Scarton from Texas A&M. These guys could all be there when we pick at 25. Wouldn't it make more sense to use our first rounder on one of them? Get a young 21-year-old on a rookie deal who can grow with Caleb Williams over the next 4 or 5 years. Isn't that the smarter way to build a sustainable roster? I think so. I think unless Chubb is willing to sign for significantly less than what the market suggests, something like 8 to 10 million a year with heavy incentives, we should pass and focus on the draft. But let me give you the counterpoint, because I've got to be fair and look at all sides. If we can get Chubb at the right price, if we can structure the deal to be cap-friendly in 2026, with money pushed into 2027 and 2028, then suddenly we've got flexibility. We could use our first rounder on an elite safety to replace Brisker if we can't keep him. We could grab a dominant defensive tackle in round 2. We could build real depth across multiple spots instead of relying on rookies to fill critical holes right away. That's the 3-dimensional chess move Ryan Poles has to consider. It's not just about Chubb as a player. It's not just about his 2025 stats. It's about how he fits into the bigger roster-building puzzle over the next 3 years. And I'll say this with full confidence. I trust Poles to make the right call. He's shown over and over that he understands value, that he won't get caught up in big names if the numbers don't make sense. Look at how he handled Roquan Smith when he wanted to be the highest-paid linebacker in the league. Poles said no, traded him for draft value, and now we've got Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards for less combined money. Was it painful? Sure. Was it the right move? Time has proven it was. Look at how he let Robert Quinn go when his production didn't match his cap hit. Look at how he didn't panic when Allen Robinson left for the Rams. Poles plays the long game, not the short-term hype. But we also know, and you know it too, that we're in a win-now window. Caleb Williams is still on his rookie deal through 2028. That gives us 3 more years of having an elite quarterback on a cheap contract. Rome Odunze and Luther Burden III are on rookie deals. Jalen Johnson is in his prime at 27. Montez Sweat is entering his best years. This is our window. This is the shot Chicago's been waiting for decades. And we can't blow it by being too conservative or too reckless. We've got to find the perfect balance. If Bradley Chubb can help us maximize that window, if he can be the piece that takes this defense from good to dominant, then we have to seriously consider it, regardless of his age or injury history. But if it's just another high-risk move that's going to wreck our cap in 2 years, that's going to handcuff us in 2027 when we need to extend Caleb Williams, then I say, pass and build through the draft. Because here's what really matters. In 2028, when we're paying Caleb Williams 50 to 60 million a year, we need a roster full of young guys on rookie deals. We can't be stuck paying 15 to 20 million to a 32-year-old edge rusher who can't produce at an elite level anymore. The Niners made that mistake with D. Ford. The Broncos did it with Von Miller before trading him. The Bears can't be the next team to fall into the trap of paying for past production instead of future value. So what's my verdict on Bradley Chubb? I think it's an intriguing opportunity worth exploring, but only under very specific terms. A 2-year deal, max 12 million per year, with heavy incentives based on games played and production. If Chubb and his agent are cool with that, then let's do it. If they want more, if they want long-term security or big guaranteed money, then let another team make that mistake. Because at the end of the day, building a winning roster in the salary cap era is about discipline. It's about making tough calls. It's about saying no to players you love when the numbers don't add up. And I trust Ryan Poles has that discipline. I trust he won't get caught up in the name or the hype. I trust he'll do what's best for the Chicago Bears in the long run. So there you have it, Bears Nation. 3 stories that could literally change the entire direction of this franchise for the next decade. First, we've got a real shot at bringing Maxx Crosby to Chicago, an elite pass rusher who could flip our defense overnight. But the price is steep. DJ Moore, a first-round pick, and probably a day 2 pick in 2027. Let me ask you straight up, are you ready to say goodbye to DJ Moore if it means landing one of the best defensive ends in the NFL? Do you believe Rome Odunze and Luther Burden III can carry the offense without him? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I need to know how the real Bears Nation feels about this potential blockbuster. Second, we've got Nahshon Wright about to hit free agency, and desperate teams are going to be throwing cash his way. Teams that saw those 5 picks and think they struck gold. But I'm asking you, is Wright worth $15 million a year based on 1 solid season? Or should we let him walk and use that money to keep Jaquan Brisker, who proved in the playoffs he's a core piece of this defense? Let me know in the comments. Would you pay Wright or let him walk? And third, Bradley Chubb is available right now before the free agency madness begins. A proven vet, 2-time Pro Bowler, but he's 30 and coming off a torn ACL. Is this the kind of calculated risk the Bears should take to maximize our championship window? Or should we go to the draft and grab a young pass rusher who can grow with Caleb Williams? I need to hear your takes in the comments. Look, I know these are uncertain times for all of us. We've been waiting for decades, since 1985, for this franchise to finally get it right, to finally build a team that can not just compete, but dominate the NFC. And now, after 40 years of frustration, failed quarterbacks, fired coaches, and wasted seasons, we finally have something real to believe in. We've got Caleb Williams, a quarterback who might be the answer we've been searching for since Jim McMahon. We've got Ryan Poles, a GM who's proven he can build through the draft and make the tough calls. We've got young talent all over this roster, ready to explode and take this team to the next level. But we've also got critical decisions to make in the next few weeks. Decisions that will determine whether we capitalize on this window or waste it like we've done so many times before. Are we going to be bold and bring in Maxx Crosby? Are we going to be disciplined and let Nahshon Wright walk if someone overpays? Are we going to take the risk on Bradley Chubb or trust the draft? These are the questions that will define the Bears offseason. And I promise you this, I'll be right here with you every step of the way, breaking down every move, every rumor, every decision Ryan Poles makes, because you're not just fans to me, you're family, you're Bears Nation, the best damn fan base in all of football. You're the ones who've been there through thick and thin, who never stopped believing in this team, even when they gave us every reason to. You're the ones packing Soldier Field in December when it's 10 below. You're the ones driving up to Green Bay to face those Packers we can't stand. You're the heart and soul of Chicago, and I promise you, we're going to be here covering every move with the same passion, detail, and knowledge you deserve, because this channel isn't just about Bears news. It's about our community. It's about our family, united by navy blue and orange. So smash that like button right now if you want to see the Bears finally take that next step and compete for a Super Bowl. Subscribe if you're ready to be part of the best Bears community on all of YouTube. And turn on those notifications, because tomorrow we've got more explosive news you won't want to miss. I guarantee you, Ryan Poles isn't done. I guarantee you, there are more moves, more surprises, more decisions coming that will shape the future of this franchise. And you're going to want to be here when it happens. Share this video with every Bears fan you know. Post it in your Facebook groups, your WhatsApp chats, on Twitter, because Bears Nation needs to be informed. Bears Nation needs to be united. Bears Nation needs to be ready for what's coming. And drop your comments. Tell me what you think about Maxx Crosby. Tell me if you'd pay Nahshon Wright. Tell me if you'd sign Bradley Chubb, because I read every comment. I respond to this community. I value your opinions, because you are what makes this channel special. From the south side of Chicago, from the heart of this city I love, from Soldier Field, where we've made so many memories, This is Miguel Bear Truth Morales telling you, bear down, family, bear down until we win that second championship we've been waiting for. I'll see you in the next video with more breaking news about our beloved Chicago Bears. And remember, in Chicago, we don't rebuild, we reload. And this year, this might finally be our year. Bear down, Chicago, bear down.